So yes, hello there everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today Codemasters revealed all the classic cars, so there's 20 in all. I've all recapped the list of all 20 classic cars that will be available left on 2018 at the end. But I'm going to go through each of the 6 cars that are revealed today from the 1970s and early 80s era. After 82, the sports, if those of you who are new to the Formula 1 may not know about the history, after 82 the sport changed and turbo engines started coming in, but before that it was mostly Cosworth based engines which were powered, and these are all Cosworth, I think, or they're all Cosworth based engines, I think. Starting off with the 72 Lotus, 72D to be precise. This was the one that got Emerson Fittipaldi a world championship, and his first with Lotus. Again, they didn't really need another driver that year because they had their second driver didn't score any points, but yet Fittipaldi needed 4 wins out of 12 races to be able to win at the championship, and he subsequently would go on to win 73 as well with Ronnie Peterson as teammate, and then Fittipaldi of course left for elsewhere, for McLaren actually, if I remember rightly. So yes, these breeds of cars are going to be very different to handle than the others ones, and unlike some of the other cars, that you have seen in the classic cars, these cars have been on lots of games in the past, lots of different games. Some of these have been on Project Cars, Assetto Corsa, etc. All those types of games. Forza, I think they're on as well. So there's going to be lots of games you can. If you've been and driven these cars before, then you sort of know a little bit what to expect with the car, how it drives, how it feels. And then you're going to be seeing, okay, let's see what Codemasters can do. So this is a big setup for Codemasters, getting these 70s cars because they've not done them before. They did 80s and 90s in F1 2013, and they did 90s and 1000s. So now they've got 70s to go with the original ones. It's a shame we can't have some of the more 80s cars, but maybe for F1 2019 we'll have to wait and see. But that is the Lotus 72D, the earliest car ever to feature on a Codemasters F1 game. The next 2 cars I'm going to introduce together because they're from the same year, and I'm pretty sure these are actually the only 2 cars on the list that are from the same year. This is the McLaren M41B, which is on screen now, which was driven by James Hunt. And the other car is the 1972 Ferrari 312 T2 with a very interesting front wing there. This was Hunt versus Lauda, the story of 1976, the story of a film called Rush, which was released in 2013, which apparently Murray Walker says is inaccurate, but I don't know about that. But this is the one and only time you're going to be able to create a film and to create those iconic 76 races between Lauda and Hunt. Obviously Lauda had suffered some injuries. He suffered facial burns in the Nürburgring, I think it was German Grand Prix. Is it Nürburgring or Hockenheim? One of the two, on the old layouts when they used to go really fast. And there was still a death trap. So yes, having those 2 cars is good to emulate the film, but a grid, what I want in multiplayer is a grid just full of those 2 cars. let's see who wins between, and also you'd be able to pick between, have a sort of team race maybe, just an idea there. You on one side it's the McLarens, on the other side it's the Ferraris. That's something that could be implemented in the future, maybe probably in time for the next game. So Codemasters, you can have that one free of charge. But yes, those two cars, pretty iconic. No need to look them up, because it's Hunt versus Lauda is the main thing is why they're there, and also the fact they made it in the film called Rush. If you haven't seen it, I recommend you go and check it out, because it sort of gives you the background to that rivalry, and also gives you the background to these two cars. Next up is the 1978 Lotus 79, which made its debut in the latter half of 1978, and it pretty much, well, it took over. It got Andretti his first world championship, taking 4 wins. Peterson used to come second to him. He only managed to win in Austria when Andretti retired, but during the European rounds they were dominant, and then when it got to the latter rounds they sort of fell away. And then the team, that car also made it into 79, but was used to 79, but it didn't get any wins there. So it's there for getting Mario Andretti his only world championship win with Lotus, with Peterson playing the second fiddle. Next up is the 1979 312T, for which is a modified version actually of Niki Lauda's 76 312T1. So 312T was Ferrari's car from the it's actually 312-2, excuse me, T2, excuse me, but it's a modified car from basically Ferrari competition and dominance in the Constructors' Championship in the late 70s. Subsequently, Jody Scheckter was World Drivers' Champion. Now, Jody Scheckter was the last for World Drivers' Championship for Ferrari in 1979 until Michael Schumacher won in 2000. So the 80s and the 90s weren't a good time for Ferrari. Yes, they won in 82, but 82 was a crazy season with 11 different winners in 16 seasons. More about that with the other car later on. But 79, the last to really have the effect, and this car, this will be interesting to see how this car gets on against its 76 counterpart as well. So that's something we'll have to wait and see which is faster. So the final car of the 6 to be revealed is the 1982 McLaren MP41B. Now this car, they introduced turbos. 3 teams, it was Renault, Ferrari and Brabham, introduced turbo cars in had turbo engines for 1982, and they pretty much tried to dominate the season, but they were unreliable for various reasons. Renault, of course, not putting the right bolts on. Ferrari, very sadly, losing half their drivers. Ferrari, I think one of them had a broken leg, who was leading, and unfortunately Gilles Villeneuve was the other driver, so they had a whole load of drivers, which meant they weren't competitive. Brabham, although they did actually win the constructors in the end, and Brabham, well, had Piquet, who suffered badly, and Patrese, who got emotional after, let's just say, well, he won in Monaco after nobody. If you haven't seen the end of the 1982 Monaco Grand Prix, basically almost everybody crashed out. Okay, it's that, and I think somewhere it's in the 90s as the lowest amount of finish is a 3. Okay, some people were classified, but they were actually went out the race. I think it was him and the two Lotuses, and Mansell and DeAngelis actually finished the race. So, but then the rest of the race didn't do too much. As I said, 82 was a bonkers season. But John Watson liked to do. John Watson still holds the record for winning from the furthest place back on the grid. 1983 United States Grand Prix West from 22nd on the grid, I think 23rd. I think Lauda was behind him on 23rd or 24th, and he finished second. So again, that wasn't just a great, it was a poor qualifier and a great show to get a 1-2 from McLaren that day. But 82 McLaren, they were on it. Lauda had been away for a few years, but then came back into the sport in 82, and really won one race, I think. So yes, that is the three cars. I'm disappointed the Williams 82 car isn't in, but two McLarens, two Ferraris and two Lotuses. Maybe in the future we could see the Williams 82 join up with this car. So yes, the full list of cars is as follows. So yes, there are now 20 classic cars. There are the new category, the 70s, and one from 82. So that's the new category 3 class that will be on the game. So the 72 Lotus 72D, the 1976 Ferrari 312T2, McLaren M23D, the Lotus 79, the McLaren 312T4, the McLaren MP4-1B. We then got all the cars from F1 2017. Red Bull RB6, the McLaren MP4-23, Ferrari F2007, Renault R26, Ferrari F2004, the Ferrari F2002, the McLaren MP4-13, the Williams FW18, the Ferrari 412T2, the Williams FW14, McLaren MP4-6, the McLaren MP4-4, and then the two new other cars that were released earlier that will be available in DLC if you don't get the headline edition of the game, the Brawn GP car and the Williams FW25 from 2003. So that is the full list of classic cars, all 20. So there was no sign of the Benetton that was a possibility of making it in, and there was also no sign of the Red Bull RB. I think it was the 2013 Red Bull that was also had stuff. Whether or not they'll come for 2019, I don't know, because they've got the 70s now. Where do they go to next? Do they go and put cars in the 80s? So they have 70s, 80s, 90s. You can follow that period through. Or do they go early? Do they go for the 60s? Do they go for the 50s? Because the 50s and 60s are very different eras of Formula 1. The 70s look more like an F1 car. The 60s car do not. The 50s car don't look like an F1 car at all. But it'd be pretty cool to drive those very old F1 cars around Monaco, around Imola, Monza, Silverstone, places that have been on the calendar since back then. So yes, that is it for today's video. Let me know what you think in the comments below. That's the full list of cars. If there was any car that you wanted to have but you didn't have, let me know in the comments below, and we'll see if we can get it put on for 2019 perhaps, especially the fact they listened to us about the Brawn GP car. But until the next video, I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you are new to the channel to see more F1 2018 content. We've still got 3 developer diaries to go as well, so stay tuned to see the content from that. So yes, thank you for watching, and hopefully you've enjoyed the rest of your day. Take care and goodbye.